Hello and welcome to another StarCraft 2 co-op video. Today we'll be taking an in-depth look at the enemy comp Towering Walkers. The difficulty of this enemy comp really is uncertain because of a few factors. The only thing that's certain is that the first two waves are very easy. The reason why it's a question mark is because it depends on whether or not you fight this comp with an air army. Because if you use air, it's very, very easy. The sentries and scouts are the only things that hit air, and sentries don't deal much damage. Scouts can be rough, but there are only a few of them with each wave. So if you use air, this is a very, very easy comp. There's no AoE as well. However, if you're not using air, it could be rough because the Zealots and the Immortals tank for the Colossi in the back, and they can deal a ton of damage to your ground units. The strength of this comp is that they hit really hard. So if you're using a lot of armored units, they're going to get melted pretty fast. However, as mentioned earlier, the comp has very little anti-air, and the second wave is quite weak compared to other tier 2 waves as well. So yeah, if you're using air, this will be very easy for you. Which is why anyone who uses an air army will like fighting this comp. Even as Kerrigan P1, you should mass Mutas because you're going to have an easier time fighting this comp with Mutalisks than with Ultralisks. And also, if you're using like Raynor P1, making battle cruisers is not a bad idea because your ground army might melt to the Colossi, but your air army will not. And if you wish to use Bio anyways, you should add in some Vikings to take out the Colossi before they get close. Anyone who doesn't use an air army may kind of hate fighting this comp, especially tower commanders, because Immortals against towers, man, they wreck towers really fast. So again here, pretty much anyone who's using air units loves this comp, and people who don't will not like it. Zeratul doesn't really have air units, and you don't want to use a call down each time, but he doesn't struggle too much against enemy comps, any enemy comp. And Zagara doesn't have air units that hit ground, which is why she only kind of likes them. If you're using Scourge to take out the Colossi, then that's like, it makes the ground army a lot stronger because there's no AoE to deal with the ground units. Tychus also, I guess, would be like among the ones who doesn't really like this comp, but he one-shots most of the enemies in this wave anyways, so it doesn't matter too much. And if you're not using air units, then there are quite a few commanders that don't like this comp because they kind of get wrecked. But of course, if you see this comp and you still go ground, then yeah, that's kind of on you. There aren't too many notes for this comp. Just note that, like always, on Oblivion Express, you have to fight really strong waves early on. There are 2 strong waves at 14 minutes, whereas on other maps, you're still on like T4 or T3. So yeah, it's really rough in the early mid-game. For these other maps, if you're using an air army, the Colossi and Immortals will pummel the ground objectives because they have nothing else to hit. This is very important if you're fighting against like Speed Freaks or Avenger or Life Leech. So same thing, like on Mal Warfare, they'll pummel Arana. On Missed Opportunities, they'll pummel the bots. So yeah. On other maps, there isn't too much to note. They all take the same path as other comps. And you should be aware of any mutator that buffs the enemy. So whether it makes them faster, have more range, or makes them stronger, last longer, any of these are scary because if they grow bigger, if they attack faster, they're going to deal a ton of damage. Also, transmutation is kind of scary because Immortals come at tier 3 and they're already tier 7 in the transmutation list. So they're going to transmutate pretty quickly, and you're going to be fighting like hybrids soon because Immortals hit pretty hard and they have a high chance of killing something, so they're going to transmutate into something bigger. And that's it for this one. Like and subscribe if you learned something new. Comment your experiences against this comp down below.